Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hit Chat Chit Chat. Today, it is just me, but we do have a guest. We have Andrew Cresci with the Houston Astros minor league hitting instructor. He's going to be joining us. This is the second time he has joined us. He joined us with JP Shoot. How long ago was that, Andrew?
That was
Like 6 months ago?
I was in Fayetteville. So I was ending the season out in Fayetteville. So it had to be September. A few months ago.
Let's go. Yeah, you guys had a long ass run there.
We did. No, it was a good time, especially like first year in pro ball, going from being in the complex, going up to affiliate ball, going to instructs, and then with the big league team being in the World Series. So we were out there. So baseball was rolling for a long time. So that was pretty cool.
So real quick, I'm going to kind of brag a little bit about you. There is a post by a Kenny Van Doren, who is with something with the like Dallas area, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like a reporter from there. But ended up tweeting, Astros minor league hitting coach Andrew Cresci will return to the Florida Complex League for the 23 season. The FCL Astros Orange finished 2022 top 6 in runs, RBIs, average, OBP, and slugging, and in top 4 in OPS, setting the Astros FCL GCL record in team OPS. So, congratulations, dude.
I mean, like that was something that it was funny. Like I had that on a post like at the end of the year. I had made a compilation of like every homer or every like extra base hit. I sat there for like forever and did it and sent it to the players. Just because we had 2 complex league teams this past season. Our guys hit really, really well. And considering that we were one of, I think it was 2 or 3 teams. I know the Giants had 2 complex teams. I know there's one more. I just cannot think of it off the top of my head. But there are very few organizations that ran 2 FCL or 2 complex teams. Usually it's something you do in the DSL, but not in the FCL, or at the complex level. And so when you're splitting your talent across 2 teams, obviously you get more development opportunities, but the talent is spread out a little bit more. So it did extremely well. We were playing organizations that fielded one team, so all their talent was in one spot. And that's why I think the player development space is so important. Talent rankings and prospect rankings are great, but if you have a great development system within your organization, like it doesn't matter. You're just getting everybody better. So I was really proud of those guys. That was a huge accomplishment. Pretty cool to have to be a part of that success, kind of, especially my first year. So,
dude, that's awesome. And for anybody that's not too sure about what a complex team is, would you mind going in a little bit about what the difference of that is with possibly like with a AA team or anything like that?
Yeah. So generally organizational structure of the minor leagues. You have your Dominican Summer League, which is going to take place at the academies out in the DR. And then you have your complex leagues, which is their stateside, generally rookie ball is what they'll call it, but they'll separate it between Florida Complex League, which are generally like half the teams are out here. The other half are in the Arizona Complex League. That's all before affiliate ball. So before low A, high A, double A, triple A. So generally, you're playing at the spring training complexes of whatever organization you're with. For us, we're down in West Palm Beach, so we'll play down here. We'll have a smaller list of opponents. Generally, like we play against the Mets, the Nationals, the Marlins, and the Cardinals. And last year, for a while, we had our second team that we play against as well. But we will play. That's our division. If you win your division, you can go on and you'll play in the playoffs against some of the other organizations that have their divisions down here. So like the Red Sox, the Twins, the Yankees, the Blue Jays are down here. I think the Pirates. There's obviously a few more that I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, but generally rookie ball is going to be those those lower level guys, the younger guys, draft picks, the 18-year-old kids that come over from the DR. So that's the level we're at.
And for you, is that something that you have found maybe a little bit of a different teaching style or approach going from working at Driveline to maybe an area where you have athletes that are really young, probably getting paid a little bit more than some others, and possibly even a language barrier? Have you found that you've had to adjust anything that you kind of did, whether it's like analogies or kind of how you go about your instruction from Driveline to having a full year of the complex league under your belt now?
Yeah, I think, well, this is in like two parts. I think coming over from Driveline, there definitely was a adjustment period as, you're coming in, especially, when you're guarded as more of a progressive outlier in a player development space on the hitting side coming over from Driveline. There were definitely things that don't necessarily translate as directly. I think that was part of the learning experience, was coming over and, trying to implement some of those things and realizing, okay, this works, this doesn't, this carries over, this doesn't. That's why having extended spring training for the complex league. So basically when spring training's over, there's usually, used to be longer, but I think it's about 7 weeks now, where you have almost like this extended period of time before the rookie ball season starts in June, where you're getting a lot of the guys that you're going to have during the season, being able to get really aggressive in what you're doing, almost like an extra off-season program. But having that time was huge in the development piece, but also like in terms of my growth and understanding of what I can do, but translate and what doesn't. Second part to that question, the players are all kids at the end of the day. Just because you give an 18-year-old, or if they're a Latin kid coming from the DR, which generally most of the population of your Florida complex league guys are going to be Latin kids from the academy, unless you draft a high school kid that might hang around there. But, a lot of these guys are coming from very different backgrounds to the American-born players. They're given generational money at a really young age. But I think even if you gave a 16-year-old kid here $1 million, they're not going to automatically become an adult and automatically make smart decisions, and because they're still growing. They're end of the day, they're still kids. So I think that carryover from Driveline was still there, because you're dealing with younger guys. I dealt with minor leaguers, college guys, high school guys. So they have different levels of maturity, and then they're in different paths of that process of maturing. So there definitely is kind of a adjustment period for you as you learn everyone. What motivates guys, gamifying everything is pretty huge, because extended is a really long time. I love the development process, but if you're a 18-year-old kid that really just wants to get going, really wants to get out of there and go on to affiliate ball and, reach major leagues, like extended can be a drag if you're not smart in how you're allocating out that training economy. So I think overall there are some things that translate, some things that don't, but there definitely is an adjustment period just to see what works and what doesn't and what clicks with certain players. So, and not to ruin the fun of it, but I knew really early on that we're probably able to go, because I have coworkers who have been with the organization in the last few years. He actually has a lot of on-field success. So we've been to the World Series a few times. We've advanced far in the playoffs. They had said in years past that generally to make the World Series, you go for games 1 and 2, team flies you out there. So it was a really cool thing, especially in my first year, to fall alongside of that and be a part of that and be able to contribute in whatever minuscule way that I did, especially at the minor league level. But that was definitely something awesome to be a part of, being a part of that and winning a ring in your first year. That was pretty cool. I thought I was going to be the first previous driveline guy with one, but Rob Hill of the Dodgers already has one. So I beat Ochart though. So that works.
Damn it. Hey, what was that? So you're the second guy with one then?
Yeah, so the director of pitching for the Dodgers is a former driveline employee. So I was solely looking in the hitting space because I knew with the Astros going against the Phillies, obviously Ochart was the director of hitting there, and now he's moved on to the Red Sox. But yeah, it was cool to kind of go up against that. At least the idea in my head of, can I beat Ochart to the first one, even though he was had a lot more of a direct hand in the success of that work, but especially with all the years he was there and the work he did. But now he's with the Red Sox, and I'm sure they'll be taking off pretty soon too. So that was pretty cool.
Hey, that's just like childhood dreams right there. Obviously it goes from at the beginning, like being on the field, but then slowly as kind of that career path kind of closes a little bit, and then it's like, all right, like, let me go win one as a coach. And for your first year in being a professional coach at the with the major league team, like, you won. Like, that's pretty sick. Like, even though you like maybe not have worked with any of the guys that are on there, like with the foundation that you're building, the guys that you just ended up coaching your first year, it sounds like with how good they are, there's a strong possibility that you're going to be able to be there again and again and again. That's got to be pretty freaking cool. And if we're being honest, I don't know. It's not me saying it. It's the outsiders. Some people don't count the Dodgers World Series. I don't know. That's not me. That's not me. That's just what, the outside people are saying. So, like, maybe you're the first full season driveline former that has a World Series ring.
I'm gonna say my sole contribution was when Jake Myers was rehabbing. I flipped him a couple balls, so there's my contribution to someone who was on the playoff roster.
There we go.
By the way, probably the nicest guy in baseball you ever meet. So, just fun fact about him.
Hey, you love to hear that. You love to hear that.
It was definitely a cool thing to be part of that first year. I think all it means is I got lucky and I picked right. Jason Kansler, the former coordinator, was the guy that hired me. So, the kind of things that he had said and the conversations we'd had, the conversations I had with Al, the former GM, new GM of the San Francisco Giants, Pete Patilla, had some great conversations with him. The current assistant hitting coach for the Reds now, Tim Lamont, when he was here, really great conversations with him that kind of led me to want to be a part of it. And a lot of them weren't even like conversations that were necessarily like baseball related, but just really thought-provoking conversations and things that really made this an attractive place to want to be. And winning on the field also helps.
That kind of helps. That's nice. Gives you good taste, right? Especially when there's only like really one team that can win the last game of the season, like postseason, and to be a part of that one team, that's pretty freaking sweet. One thing that I kind of would like to also get into a little bit is the shoe game. Dog, those Nike Maxes, those are clean.
I would be lying if I said I just pulled those out of nowhere. Like, my former manager, who is now the freshly promoted to be Fayetteville's manager next season, Ricky Rivera. He had spotted those somewhere, and I know Logan Sterney, one of our outfield prospects, he had him all year in Fayetteville, so I saw those before. So I knew if I was going to be down in the FCL, I had to step up the shoe game. But like the problem with the on-field coaching role is whatever shoes you own are going to get absolutely destroyed halfway through the season. So I'm a big fan of the Nike clearance section, just because I know those things last like 2-3 months and then see you later. So I probably went through about like 7 pairs of shoes last year, especially in the FCL, because like a lot of times you're sitting like on the field. Like usually there's some 10x10s that are just like outside the dugout, and you're like sitting out there. Exception being the Marlins, who actually have a really nice field setup. We do as well down here. Like we have a field 2, I guess is what it's referred to as, but has the same dimensions as Minute Maid. But
That's pretty
you're on field. You're in the dirt a lot. Yeah, it is. So you're on field, you're in the dirt a lot. So the shoe game, as strong as you try to keep it, it's like another full-time job, and trying to make sure they don't look like garbage after 2 weeks.
Moving on and getting a little bit more into like ABCA, was that, if I recall, that was your first time going?
Yes, because I was supposed to go. So I was out in DC for a long time. I was supposed to go when it was out there, but I think that was the COVID year. It was canceled. I didn't go then, which would have been cool, because I was at that point I was living, I guess it was like 2 places, but at one point I was living just on the other side of the river from where the convention center was, where they were going to have it. So I was on Alexandria, so that would have been very easy and nice to do. But obviously going to Nashville was fun. It was a good time. Met you there in person. It was good to see all the driveline guys too, because hadn't seen them since when I was there in person. So pro ball kind of takes over your life and keeps you in one spot for a little while. So it was nice to see all those people, and then went out there with a few of my coworkers. So they had a lot of their former coworkers out at different orgs and different schools and things like that. So I met a lot of people, had a lot of nice baseball conversations. It was pretty awesome.
Dude, that was my first time going too. It was a pleasure to finally meet you. I was able to meet a bunch of other people that I kind of, you chit-chatting on the socials and different things like that. To finally like be able to meet someone face to face, shake their hand, dab them up and stuff, like it's a little different. It was kind of surreal, like walking around and thinking there's 7,000, 8,000 coaches that are similar, to myself, to you, that are all in this one just location, like just one hotel, one area, that are just almost like nonstop communicating and chatting. And, it doesn't even have to be directly about baseball, or just, shooting the shit, talking about old stories, or talking about new players, new drills, new events, new tools, like all those things. It was, for me, kind of like an eye-opening experience of like, hey, this is pretty freaking cool. And I don't know, were you able to see Manny Ramirez?
Oh yeah, so I was by the was doing that thing by the 44 gloves thing. Yeah, that's where he was there. I walked by him and I was looking at him. I was like, why do I feel like I know who that is? Because I think he'd like wear those giant sunglasses, and I think he'd shave. So
yeah, they were like green, bro.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, it was funny. Like, you're a lot bigger than I thought you were in person. So I was like, when I met you, I was like, oh, or either that or I'm just a lot smaller than most people think I am. So I'm like the only Astros hitting coach, like under 6'5" and 250 pounds. So all 5'8" of me walking around kind of surprises people. I've been confused video guy and an analyst, and every other job that isn't a hitting coach, people think that I am all the time. So
do you get like, because I mean, calling spade, JP's in the same boat. Like, do you feel when that happens, is there any like, I don't know, not animosity, but is it like what when someone asks you or like interprets you as, like you said, like an analyst or whatever, like, do you get like do you take a step back? Like, what's the feeling of that?
I mean, like when I was at Fayetteville, we were down east playing it's the Texas Rangers affiliate. So we were down there. It's towards the end of the season, and like and like players just pepper the mini hack, and the screen thing pushes up against the wheel. So like we're out there. We had like 2 weeks left in the season. This was our last away stretch before we went home, and like the thing's just been blasted so many times. It was like the away machine. So like I had to get like a hammer from like the grounds crew, and I'm like just going to town on this thing to try to fix it like in the moment on the field. And I think it was like a bunch of the staff members from the Rangers were like talking to, I think it was our strength coach, and he was just like, "Yo, why is your video guy just like hammering the machine or something like that?" And I was like, so I kind of got used to it. I mean, I'm not the biggest person in the world, and then we have like a lot of guys in our work. Our AAA hitting coach Aaron Westlake is just like an enormous dude. Like works out like 3 times a day in spring training. Our former coordinator's pretty big dude, Kanzler. Guy coming over from the DR, Kyle Brennan, like just stacked and yoked. He's huge. So like I stand out anyway. I just kind of accept it at this point. It is what it is. I mean, kind of just laughed at it during the season because I was down there with our he's now our high A hitting coach, where he was just kind of down there doing the rehab stuff, and he's like covered in tattoos, and he's a bigger dude. So when we would kind of sit next to each other on the field and we're like talking hitting or pointing people out, but I always ask like why is that analyst guy on the field? Because I always had like a computer with me or something, and so it happens so often that I just kind of learned to laugh at it. Like it's, I mean, I'm sure JP will run into the same problem because me and JP are pretty much the same size. I think I got a couple inches on.
Ayo, like,
but you can always tell former players versus guys that might have played in college, might have played somewhere else. Just aren't that prototypical like 6'4", 225 kind of deal.
Well, and like how you mentioned, you said I always have a computer with me. So like, even if like, let's say we were like, I don't know, like if you were like you mentioned the bigger dude, if like homeboy's just walking around like carrying a computer as well, like it might just look like he's trying to find some good Wi-Fi. Like I don't know, like maybe they are the tech guy. Are you like walking around like laptop out on the hand, or like are we sitting down typing on the lap?
It's gonna depend on what rabbit hole I've decided to go down that point in time. Nice thing about the Astros was the amount of freedom that I got when I was there in terms of putting forth new ideas and trying to implement certain things. Especially at the complex level. Coming in there in my first year was probably one of the best things about it was that I was given a tremendous amount of leeway, which coming out of Driveline I really liked. So that was a big reason, in addition to other ones, like why I ultimately chose to go work for the Astros. So, but with that comes the fact that it incentivizes me to constantly thinking of random things and chasing stuff to see, hey, does this work? Could this work? Could this improve? The things that we're doing. Been told don't reinvent the wheel a lot because I like to think about stuff, but at the same time, like if you have processes that you can improve upon, different things you can try, and if you back it with data, and why not try to implement that? I mean, that's like the biggest thing with professional baseball is everybody's always chasing these very minute things, and you probably have a couple of years, maybe a year or two of an advantage before everybody else grabs it, catches onto it. You kind of look for the next thing. So, I'll take the analyst video guy confusing things. It is what it is. I just laugh at it.
Um, I like how you were able to mention that you're able to bring up new ideas and look to implement them without being any specifics. What does that process look like for yourself when it comes to, like, when you're sitting on the field, we got a laptop ready, and you're seeing something going on? Like, what engages that process of thinking, hey, we could do better if we did this, or what if we did, like, how does that start from a seed of an idea to then, obviously don't have to get into specifics, but like, is it like for me here at Fast, if I come up with an idea, I'll go to Jason, who's the owner, and say, hey, I want to do this. And he'll look at me and go, well, why haven't you done it yet then? And it's like, all right, well, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to burn the place down. I'm going to go do that now. So more so here, it's like, go do it. Why are you asking for permission? What does that process look like for you with from the start of an idea or a thought of something could be different, or what if we did this, to then actually like implementation, whether it's on a practice level, individuals, or in like a game setting?
So obviously the on-field stuff is going to be more like I have that computer out for scouting reports, videos we've made before, but things like that, they're going to help the hitters in that point in time. That's where like the analyst stuff comes from, because they see me sitting there with all of it. Because you'll have the iPad set up and all that. But like when it comes to implementing ideas at this level, obviously like the leadership above you plays a big role in that, and what you're able to do or what you may have to present. My former boss, who was the former coordinator, Jason Kanzer, was the guy that brought me on. He was a big like ask for forgiveness later kind of deal, which was huge and incentivizes a lot of just a lot of trying new things. A lot of discussion, generates a lot of discussion. New coordinator is kind of the same way with him. Like, I have to present something to him next week. He's really open about it, but obviously he just wants to hear, the why behind things, and can you back the things that you want to do? So slightly different approaches, but still very open-minded in terms of enabling us to grow as an organization and direction of the player development space. The hitting side is always playing catching up with the pitching end, especially for the Astros, as good as they are on the pitching end. We have like an entire homegrown rotation developed from guys that I think the organization paid like $10,000 to, with Framber and Christian Javier and stuff like that. So, I think it's really important to have those guys in the hitting space, but it's not like, it's also a different setting because it's professional baseball. There's a lot of money on the line. It's not to say that there isn't money on the line at Driveline, but Driveline is very much that same. If you think of an idea, it is your responsibility to do it now. Like, it doesn't matter how like small it is. Like, I remember one of my first weeks there, with these cabinets, and there was something with cables running through it, and like I was just like, why isn't it like run through here? And I remember Tanner Stokey was like, oh, it's a good idea, do it. You've thought of it, now to take care of it. So I was like, I think the next day I was like drilling a hole in like a metal cabinet. People were looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? From the training floor. But like that was the kind of atmosphere they have, where like you think of something and the onus is now on you, like now implement it. Don't just wait for someone else to do it. I think at the professional level, it's tougher, and I think it depends on the organization, because there is so much money involved, and because turnover for some organizations are so high, it leads to a lot of fear, and that's not always going to promote as much growth in the development space if you're constantly afraid that like you're going to screw something up or you're going to get fired if you try something new and it doesn't work. So I think that's something the Astros do very well. I don't think that fear of failure and then having it correlate to being fired is there. That's what's led to a lot of their success. I mean, I think there's a secret sauce in in enabling the people that you hire to explore and promote new ideas without the fear of like retaliation if something doesn't work. Because if you never try it, you're never going to know. And it's such like a copycat, quick turnaround industry that is baseball at the professional level. Like, you have to be able to do those things. And I think your coaches have to be able to be confident in exploration. Obviously within reason, like you're not just trying everything under the sun without being able to justify it. But yeah, I think that's going to be your greatest tool, especially with the success that teams like the Astros have had, where it's the development space. It's, you're scouting talent. Yeah, you're bringing in good players. You're bringing in guys that you think could be good players, but like, are you developing them and are you able to develop them? And that's without high draft picks. Last couple of years where they didn't have first or second round picks, where they were limited in international signing and things like that. So being able to identify talent and develop the right guys and be aggressive in it. Obviously we've had a lot of success doing that, and you just want to keep doing it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I like what you said, like, you have to be willing to explore without fear of retaliation. And I feel like that's the same when you're on the field as well. Whether you're going through, you're trying a new stance, you're trying a new cue, whatever it is, you're fielding, you're trying a different glove action, or you're pitching, you're trying a different grip. If you're scared of the failure, then you're not going to be willing to try something new. If you're not willing to try something new, you're just going to keep being the same person that you were. If you're the same person, you're not getting better. If everyone else is getting better, you're actually getting worse. And so it's one of those kind of like cycles where if you have a coaching staff that is able and willing to, kind of explore or question the quote unquote the known, I think that then will also then filter into the players as well, because they see, hey, if my coach is able and willing to kind of try a new drill, then I'm able to kind of try something a little bit different. And if it doesn't work, like, hey, we're going to talk about it, like, it doesn't work. But I'm not getting slapped on the wrist. I'm not getting in trouble. Like you said, if you're fearful of losing your job, you're not necessarily going to try the craziest thing in the world because you want to be safe. And I feel like that plays at all levels, and it's one of those where it works from the top down. I think that goes to show kind of why the Astros have had the success that they've had, just from at the smallest minor league level, working all the way up through. And like you said, you guys have had a homegrown rotation and a lot of homegrown players. And that's a testament to the player development that you guys have done, and for you to be able to jump on board last year and looking to continue it this year. Dude, sky's the limit, brother.
Definitely. And I think there's just kind of like you said, starting from that bottom point, but kind of like just kind of like reasoning up from like the fundamental truths of it, and then just kind of figuring out something really makes sense, or just, is it just everyone else is doing it kind of deal. I think I mentioned in the first time when I was talking to you and JP, like, it was really important for me to have the players be able to understand why and not be afraid to ask me why. Because being able to share that understanding with them and the justification, like, it makes you better as a coach, because you have to, not only do you have to believe in the things that you're pushing, but like that you have to have an understanding that it's appropriate, it works. There's a justification, there's a why behind it. And for them as learners, and especially as professional athletes, being in the off season now, you have to have that conversation with a lot of guys when they go off and they go work with whoever, whether it be somebody new, somebody they've experienced in the past they've worked with, getting them to take ownership of their career, having them understand that, like, when you're working with these people, everything is a recommendation, almost, not an absolute, because like, it's your career at the end of the day. Don't just wholeheartedly do the things that people do because everybody's doing it. Like, try to get an understanding and learn. understand the reasons behind things and why something works, why you're doing something, why it applies to you. Um, I think that's really important on the player end, but also just on the coaching end too, because it's going to make you better. And it's going to be able to challenge um, your perspective and level of thinking. I think people are automatically inclined from an ego kind of viewpoint that when you're presented with information that conflicts your own, majority of people are going to dismiss it and shut it down because it means that you're wrong. And it sounds super cliche because everybody says it and everybody says how open-minded they are. And, I think in any kind of setting, especially like in the professional space where, people do have egos. Everybody does. You don't want to be wrong. But like, I think it's really important advancement of yourself and just like the department as a whole. If you're willing to have those conversations and willing to be wrong and then adjust your thinking and say, hey, like, okay, what I thought doesn't make sense. Here's why. Now, how can I build on that versus like shutting things down? You see that conversation a lot, especially in like the social media space, like the dumpster fire that hitting Twitter is and things like that, where it's all about why other people are wrong and not why you're right.
Yep.
And if you are right, like, why are you right? And then being able to have that conversation. Like, I know there was a presentation that I did. It was last year. We were having kind of this open forum discussion, and I had something that I wanted to kind of push forward. And I remember I went around the complex and went to different departments that might have not necessarily been as knowledgeable or had an understanding of what specifically I was looking to push. But I explained it. I would show them some of the stuff I had, and I was like, all right, now tell me why I'm wrong. And I did that with the strength department. I did that with, other coaches, whether in the development space, pitching coaches, my old manager, Ricky Rivera, like I went into his office, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. This is why I think this. Tell me why I'm wrong. And just, I didn't care what it was. I just wanted different perspectives. Being able to answer those questions ultimately is going to make you better. It's going to challenge the way you're thinking. And it lets you know, like, okay, am I really right in this instance? Do I really have all the information? Am I going to get perspective or some negative feedback that is going to help me better either my position in arguing for what I'm looking to do, or is it going to back the argument against and say, hey, like, okay, I need to reevaluate why I'm doing this, or I need to reevaluate how we're going about it.
I like that. And it kind of leads me into this question of, have you had an athlete yet, whether Driveline, Astros, anything in your past experience, have you had an athlete yet that almost is kind of like smug about thinking that something that you're, some drill, cue, technique, whatever it is, thinking that, is kind of stupid and like, oh, like, why are we doing this, Andrew? Like, nudging the buddy, like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. And then you like kind of explain it and they just sit there and it's like, oh, I never thought of it like that. Like, okay, kind of come around. Have you had anybody kind of give you a little pushback and then, eyes open, brain opens, is like, holy shit, okay, let's see what this is like then?
And yes and no, like not in like a disrespectful way. I think like the Latin players that we have, like, they're very respectful of when coaches are telling them to do things. And that's why, like, I always pushed for them to create an open forum where they could push back. Even when, like, even with whatever we were doing was totally justified and I had the data to back it, like, I wanted them to be comfortable enough to ask why, even in a position, like, what are we doing this for? Because I wanted to get them to understand. I think there are plenty of instances where, like, especially in the beginning, I was, these guys from the DR, do they know what Driveline is? Maybe not. I was an outsider from professional baseball. I was an outsider from the organization. So anytime you're coming in like that, they have a familiarity with coaches that are around. Like, I had a couple hitting coaches that were there at the complex with me. One that I was a hitting coach for the team blue. I had orange, and then we had a third hitting coach that he'll now be going to high A, but he was kind of there, helping out in between. He was doing rehab, but he would tell me all the time that like certain players would kind of come to him in confidence, be like, "Why are we doing this?" And like, "I don't understand this," and like, "Why is Andrew, pushing this thing?" And in the beginning, that was pretty common, just because like I was the new person, and it makes sense. Like you're gonna go and talk to people you're comfortable with, because you're not always comfortable voicing those concerns to someone you don't know. But creating that atmosphere, and after time, like guys got more and more comfortable asking me why. Why are we doing this? Why are we using these bats? Why, whatever it may be. And then by the end of the year, there were, people asking them questions in instructs, whether it's scouts or whatever, asking them why they were doing particular things. And these guys were able to stand there, even guys with English as a second language, which made it all that more impressive, and be able to articulate a very clear understanding of why they were doing something, what the benefits were, and they were confident in the justification of it, which was an extremely cool thing to hear, especially from one particular player who explained something to a pretty prominent figure and in the org, and did it in such a confident way, and he didn't do it like argumentatively. It was just more so like he had an understanding of why it benefited him, what it was for, why he was doing it. And that prominent person was like, "Ah, okay." And it was a really cool thing to hear that he was able to do that. And that's not to say that like, it's because I told him, but it's because he like understood the real reasons why. And I wasn't even there when this was happening. This was something that was told to me secondhand, and then he told me himself. So it was really cool to hear that.
That's the best. And I think obviously you're being a professional throughout this podcast of, deflecting accomplishment to others and being thankful for just being a part of it. Like just right there, you're like, it wasn't, what I said, he was able to understand it. There's something to be said for the ability to translate and articulate from the coach to the player. And I was actually just talking with somebody that's here in the local area, that they posted a video of this professional hitting, talking about, just mechanics, hips before hands, different things like that. And the player actually commented back and saying, that's nothing what I did. I wasn't doing hands before hips. I was throwing the knob at the ball and this and that and that. And we were going back and forth, and speaking of, there are a lot of former professionals and guys that are like Hall of Fame caliber players that can't actually articulate the real physical things that they were doing. They're just so stuck in necessarily what they were thinking, what they were trying to feel. And there's, not saying that that's a bad thing, but in my opinion, a good coach is able to translate to different types of players with different backgrounds and different things like that, to be able to get across the same point, but just different ways. And so for you to be able to inform this athlete of why you're doing it to a point where they were able to understand it that well, to then be able to give it to another person, I mean, that's the definition of, do you truly understand something? Like, if you're able to understand and you really get it, go teach it to somebody else. And with that person being the second person to kind of learn from it, with you being the source, the athlete being the second person, for that athlete to be able to, like you said, give a great definition and reasons of why they're doing it and the benefits, I think that's a testament to how good of a coach you are as well. So I don't want you just to be able to kind of gloss over that's something special that a lot of former big leaguers, I don't feel, are able to do. And you're able to do it, man. That's freaking incredible. So congratulations on that.
I appreciate that, but I think like that's more of a testament to the people that you learn from. I don't, good coaches steal things. There are a bunch of people that I've taken stuff from. I think being a driveline, I've told him this all the time. I think like the director of hitting now, Tanner Stokey, one of the smarter hitting guys you'll ever meet. He'll never own up to it. I always tell him he knew everything, and I would kind of joke around. He always said no, he didn't, but like, really humble guy. But like that was something where, being around him, Andrew Wright, these are guys that are working with, former All-Stars and MVP winners, and in around that, even working with JP, the list goes on and on. Pretty much everyone that was working with the driveline, everybody contributes something to what you take away in learning atmosphere. I mean, when I was coaching out in Minnesota, guys that I worked with out in DC, in smaller shops, guys that weren't superstars. One of the better hitting coaches that I knew, especially like a few years ago when I was working out in DC, was a guy that Pat Heisel, I'll name drop him. He was part of the super regional teams out in Maryland, but he was playing behind guys like his name Brandon Lau, the dude from Tampa, third baseman, his second baseman.
Okay.
So he was playing behind a future MLB All-Star, so he didn't get to play that much. But in terms of like, he doesn't have the name recognition. He used to be playing behind future MLB All-Stars, but it's a guy that I stole off from him. I'd hang out in his lessons and just kind of like eavesdrop on him and ask him questions in his own lessons. That was something that I always thought was funny. But no, there's definitely there's something you can learn from everybody. Got a friend that owns a softball facility, and she called me the other day to ask me questions about what I guess one of her teenage girls on her team was learning from some other facility, and kind of she had thoughts and opinions but wanted to ping them off of me. So I think like being able to have those conversations and learn and take from different people is huge. So I mean, I think the kind of coach you are is also a combined testament to the people that you've kind of been around as well. Was it that whole cliche thing is it's the company you keep is who you are, or you're some combination of the company. I don't know, something like that. But I think it just says a lot about the people that you've kind of passed through along the way, and just not being able to settle for, oh, I know everything, I have all the answers. I think there's that whole understanding that sometimes the smartest people in the room are the people that kind of think they're wrong all the time, because you're willing to question the things and you're willing to question yourself. So,
my man, you got more stiff arms than Derrick Henry in the last 5 seasons combined of me trying to give you compliments. But I think that's, like you said, a testament of how humble you are, and why I think you're such a good coach. And the reason why I love being able to just chat with you is, you're able to just keep finding ways in other people and other avenues that you kind of been able to build the career that you've been able to build. I mean, last time we were on the phone, like you say, you were in a hotel in Fayetteville. And now you're in a new space and things like that where you've done an amazing job, man. And 100% it's been the people that you've been with. I mean, I give all the credit in the world to all of my past former coaches and everything like that. But also, I mean, there have been people that have been in similar situations, maybe not the exact situations, but very similar, that have not taken advantage of the opportunity that they've been given. Like you said, they've kind of just said, all right, well, now I'm right. Like I know everything, and it's unfortunate. And so for you to be still willing to try and, find the next thing and be willing to question and, hand off the compliments to other people that you've put yourself around. I think a similar analogy that you were trying to bring up earlier is, iron sharpens iron. And the more that you can be around other, pieces of iron to help sharpen who you are, the better. And, that's honestly the whole reason why I started this chit chat is I was doing lessons out of my own barn, and it was starting to become an echo chamber where anything that I said, it was always correct. There was no one to tell me that I was wrong. And it, got boring. It got to a point where it was like, I want to get told that I'm wrong. I want to talk to somebody else and have them change my mindset or show me possibly something to do, a different drill or a different method of organization when it comes to blast motion numbers or just whatever it is. Like, how can I be the best that I can be? And that's going to be looking and talking to other people, i.e. why we're here on this chit chat. So do you have anything that you would like to kind of throw out there? Any plugs that you'd like to kind of get out? Anything like that?
Just to feedback on what you just said, like, anytime where you're in the situation, like, where it is kind of like an echo chamber and you're kind of in your own head. I think there was something that, I had a conversation with I think it was my mom last week. Where like you said, like being in being able to speak whatever that kind of topic is and whatever your thoughts are, like anytime you're stuck in that situation where it's like you're kind of hearing yourself, you're going to be able to answer a lot of questions by just hearing yourself say it out loud. So like even when you're in a conversation with somebody, even if like their input isn't necessarily vast and huge, just being able to hear yourself say something and being able to get it out of your own head, like you hear things that you're not going to hear when you're kind of just thinking them yourself, if that makes sense. Be able to answer a lot of your own questions, or the questions that you were seeking. You're kind of able to assess and kind of reaffirm positions that you probably already know. But it just gives you that opportunity to do that. It's just funny that was relevant, but yeah, I mean, be willing to try new things. And like that fear of, especially in like pro ball, like, what the joke is, the one rule is don't F anybody up. Don't mess them up. Nobody wants to do that with a player. But if you have the data to back you and you're willing to double, triple check your rationale for why you're doing things and have a real understanding, be aggressive, do those things. My dad's father told him, and this reference might be a little dated, but you can always dig a ditch. Don't be afraid to kind of go for it. And if it doesn't work out, like, you still dig a hole. You can still get a job doing that. Obviously, that might be deep because that was said to him, a little while ago. But that is a true thing to get over, especially in the development space and with a lot of egos and voices in the room. That's why I think it's both a really cool thing to be coming from the background that I am, to add that point of view, but also at times that some things you're bringing to the table automatically kind of put yourself on an island, but it challenges you in a way to okay, how can I present this information in a way that create new questions, may deviate a little bit from the current path, but at the same time keep people on board. You're not going to win over everybody, but if you can win over the right people, that's ultimately what you're trying to do. You're not going to change everybody's mind. People are going to come to conclusions eventually themselves. But if you can guide them there, present your information, go about it in a way that sparks potential question or conversation with somebody, maybe not in that immediate, but maybe 2 days, a week later, whatever down the line, that's ultimately what you're trying to do. Because your job, especially as it relates to this player development, your job's to develop the players. For me, that means all of them. It doesn't mean the high money guy. It doesn't mean the flavor of the month. It means how can I get all of them better? And I think that going back to originally what you were saying with Kenny had kind of written, which was funny. Those were a bunch of random stats that I had on my Twitter that he kind of shoved all together. But I put that out there because for me, that was hugely impressive given nature of tier team situation, where we had talent spread across two teams. Yet we were still able to put ourselves, I think there are 16 teams in the FCL as a total that year, 16, 17 teams. We managed to put ourselves top 6 and everything. I think we were number in just the FCL. I think we were like number 2 in hard hit balls between 10 and 30 degrees, which is what everybody's chasing, those those barreled up baseballs. So we did really well. I think that was a testament to, in terms of our staff, like being able to develop everybody, independent of status or kind of prospect lists and things like that, because those places had our farm systems ranked at the bottom. I think for me, like, that's why those things don't matter. Like, they're nice. Like, it's cool to hear that you're the number 1 farm system in baseball, but like, what are you doing to develop those players? A lot of times, most of those places have the number 1 pick for consecutive years, and it's easy to have the number 1 farm system when, like, not to get on any one particular club, but when you're a team like the Nationals and you happen to get very lucky in back-to-back years drafting generational superstars and Strasburg and Harper, and it's easy to get a number 1 ranking when you have absolute generational talent. But what are you doing with those $10,000 signees, late age grouping signees from Latin America, like with the Astros and what they've done, formulating an entire rotation of homegrown talent? We have like deceptively kind of a higher payroll, but we don't sign high price free agents. We're just signing our own guys. And I think that's a huge testament to the success that the organization's had. So I went off on a little bit of a tangent. Mess is still the same.
I love it. I love it. And I appreciate you coming on for the second time. We've been talking about looking to do this for a while. So to be able to make it to where your lineup or your schedule lines up, and we're able to knock it in, I absolutely am thrilled to have you back on. And I can't wait to get you on for a third time.
Yeah, great. I'm happy to do it. Just kind of hopefully happily worked out. Obviously, the Wi-Fi issues in the beginning, going through 2 different computers and sitting on top of my router apparently isn't doing anything to help the video. But really, really happy to do this again. I know we talked about doing it, and love to do it again. Hopefully, we get JP in here too. Be nice to see his face, but spoke to him the other day. He's doing good. He's killing it out in the drive line. So happy for him, man.
Oh, me too. And we'll get you to meet our third guy. We've added a third guy. His name's Connor Burns. We played at Garden City together, and he runs the hitting department for Absolute Human Performance in Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, always tricky with being under the stipulations of working in pro ball. You can't be giving away the secrets all the time, but any opportunity that I have to kind of talk hitting and player development space, I always love to do it. So yeah, let's go for number 3 at some point.
Let's go, baby. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. And to everyone listening, I appreciate you tuning in to Hit Chat Chit Chat. Tune in next week, and we'll get another episode in there. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Andrew, for coming on. And to everybody, have a good one.